charges and who can't be housed with others.
We're not going to put kids in hotels. We don't have the option to put them in an Airbnb. We don't have any other houses. And so they're in an office.
DCS Commissioner Margie Quinn in a recent legislative hearing, the state saying that new specialized facilities and treatment centers are in the works in Tennessee, though no timeline is set.
A Nobel laureate and computer scientist says there's no way big tech can make a profit after spending billions and even trillions of dollars on artificial intelligence unless they replace human labor. More from Steve Jordahl.
Jeffrey Hinton is known as the godfather of AI, and he says big companies are betting on AI causing massive job replacements because that's where the big money is going to be. Bob McGinnis, author of AI for Mankind's Future, says massive amounts of money are being invested to make AI work.
We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars have been floating around, invested, reinvested. Governments have promised giant data centers, which cost hundreds of billions of dollars. So we're talking trillions of dollars.
He says the first jobs to be replaced will be those that require repetitive manual labor, factory workers. We're already seeing Amazon, UPS, Meta, and Microsoft lay off employees. But professional jobs like doctors and engineers will be on the chopping block as well.
If you're a lawyer, I would argue that a lot of lawyers are going to be jobless going forward because if their job was to write legal briefs and the like, AI can do a much better job than they can.
McGinnis says the jobs that will be the safest are ones that use skilled labor.
The trades, you're always going to need plumbers. You're always going to need electricians. You're always going to need people to, that use the smarts they have and their hands.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
A judge in the case against former FBI Director James Comey has ordered the Justice Department to produce critical documents by the end of the day today.
Attorneys for former FBI Director James Comey say the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, didn't have proper authority to bring the case against him. They want a transcript of Halligan's presentation to the grand jury that prompted them to indict. Comey pled not guilty last month to one count of making false statements and one count of obstructing a congressional proceeding. Judge Cameron Curry has ordered the Justice Department to produce a transcript of her presentation by today. Halligan was picked after the previous U.S. Attorney resisted bringing cases against Comey and New York's Attorney General Letitia James. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
More news available online at afn.net. And download the AFN mobile app for your Android or iPhone. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The loss of a child through abortion, miscarriage, or stillbirth affects the emotional health of families. Feelings of anger, sadness, and regret can be overwhelming. There is hope and healing in the aftermath of a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline at 866-482-LIFE to talk with someone who has been where you are and healed to help others. Your call is confidential. 866-482-LIFE.
We inform.
Religious freedom is about people of faith being able to live out their faith, live out their convictions, no matter where they are.
We equip.
Sacred honor is the courage to speak truth, to live out your free speech.
We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome to The Core here on American Family Radio. Walker Wildmon here with you. AFR.net is the URL. You can check out our website, American Family Radio website, AFR.net. While you're there, you'll find the podcast, and you'll find the live stream button. So you can listen to live programming there at AFR.net, or you can go listen to past episodes of the program and all programs that you hear here on American Family Radio. And of course, we've got the AFR app. It's free. You can download it, the AFR app. And I know I mention it nearly every day on the program, but you'd be surprised how many people I talk to that don't have the AFR app. And so that's why we talk about it nearly every day on the program, because we want to make sure that as many people know about it as possible. Go to your app store, type in American Family Radio or AFR, and you can click the download button and have access to all of the content on American Family Radio there on your smartphone, on your tablet device, and on other devices such as Roku and Apple TV. And all right, let's jump into the scripture for the week, and then we'll move our attention to the news and some of the things that are ongoing in our country. John chapter 1 is where we are this week. Verse 14, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Verse 14, John chapter 1, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, and the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So when you go to verse 1 and you see John here writing, in the beginning was the Word. Many of you are familiar with this passage, at least you should be. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and he was in the beginning with God. And you look at that and go, well, who is the Word? And then John's describing the Word as a he, but then you look at verse 14, and John makes it clear he's talking about Jesus. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, and the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. This passage also, this entire chapter, is also very supportive and evidence of the Trinity, and not just the Trinity, but the truth and the fact that the Trinity has always existed. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit have always been. And John chapter 1 is very, very clear with that truth. That's John chapter 1, specifically verse 14. All right, well, I want to keep mentioning these trips because that before we know it, we're going to blink, and then December will be here and registration will be closed, and then we'll have people calling saying, I missed the window to go with us to Israel and Greece. These are back-to-back trips. For the Israel portion, my parents, Tim and Allison, are going to be with the group in Israel. The next week after that, after Israel, my brother and I, Wesley, and I will be in Greece doing a Footsteps of Paul trip. These trips are back-to-back. We've got over a dozen people doing both of these trips back-to-back. But if you want to do Israel or you want to do Footsteps of Paul, whichever one you want to do or both, just go over to wildmangroup.com to check out all the information, wildmangroup.com to check out all of the information and to register. Registration is closing in December, so just a couple weeks out, registration will be closed. You'll miss the window. So if you've been thinking about it, maybe you've already decided to go. I've talked to some of you who've already decided to go. You just haven't registered. Go over to wildmangroup.com for all information on the Israel and Greece trips. While you're there, we already have some of our other 2026 trips up and open for registration, including Boston, Washington, and Williamsburg. So all of that is at wildmangroup.com to find out more. All right, well, we're going to spend the majority of today's program breaking down what on earth happened last night with these elections. And I've got to confess something. I didn't give these elections as much attention as I should have. And I think most people could say that because this is an off-season, this is an off-cycle election, meaning it's not a midterm, it's not a presidential, and it's just a handful of states. Less than that, it's really primarily New Jersey and Virginia. There was a major proposition in California, Prop 50, and then there were some municipal and local elections throughout the country. Nonetheless, New Jersey and Virginia were the two major statewide elections that took place yesterday evening. New Jersey, and then you have the New York City mayoral race. New Jersey is a traditionally Democrat state, traditionally blue state. Now there's a lot of red conservative areas of New Jersey, and of course you throw in a couple major cities, and you get the state turns blue. Just like you look at almost every state, with rare exception, but almost every state in the union, all 50, are the majority of the counties are red. They're conservative, but then you have these major metropolitan areas. Atlanta, for example, very good example. Atlanta, Austin, Texas, Chicago, areas like that. You look at the state on the statewide map, a lot of conservative people, a lot of conservative counties, and then boom, you had a major population center, and 70 to 80% of the people there vote Democrat. So New Jersey is pretty similar, but nonetheless, it's been a pretty safe Democrat state for a long time. And Virginia is a battleground state, but it leans blue. Okay, Virginia leans blue, if we're being honest. The reality is that we don't need to overstate what happened last night with the Democrats pretty much sweeping the entire ballot in all of those states. I think we need to take note, but we also don't need to overstate it and act as if it is sending this signal right all around the country that, Republicans are going to get clobbered in the midterms. Well, that may be true, and that may happen, and we're actually going to talk extensively about that today in the next few segments. But my point is that these are primarily Democrat states. I mean, Virginia is swallowed up by Northern Virginia. You got a lot of government workers that all vote Democrat. You got several liberal pockets in Virginia, and so this was not like a red state that went blue because people don't like Trump. That's my point. New Jersey's been run by Democrats for years. And so now, do I think it should have been closer? Absolutely. I think there's no excuse for the Republicans not to compete better than they did last night. But nonetheless, it's not, to me, it's not a doomsday, 5 alarm bell fire to Republicans and conservatives that, we're going to lose everything because the voters don't like our leadership. But I think there are some warning signs. I do think there are some warning signs that if we do not heed them, if we do not pay attention, then this could turn into a larger problem around the country when it comes to the electoral map. So we'll talk about all of that. But to get things started, let's just talk about who was on the ballot, right? Zoran Mondani was on the ballot for the New York City mayor's position. Eric Adams is stepping down. He's a current mayor. You had Mondani. You had Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, running as an independent. And then you had the other gentleman who was running as a Republican, only got like 4 or 5 percentage points. Silva, maybe. Curtis, I believe is his first name. But it really was a bad setup. I mean, this Mondani, who's a self-described Democratic socialist, didn't really stand a chance. I'm sorry. He pretty much dominated it. Nobody stood a chance against him, all right? There just wasn't good viable candidates running against Mondani. But nonetheless, I want to play this clip because this kind of gives you a glimpse into his thinking, his ideology, and he is as hard left as they get. I mean, this guy's hardcore socialist. He's not shy about it. He's not like Obama where he's hiding it. I mean, he's out and proud about it. And this is a clip of him answering the question. CNN's asking him, hey, what do you think about this whole capitalism thing? I mean, do you really think it's evil? Tell us what you really think. This is going to be Mondani, clip 1.
So when people say democratic socialist, right, and I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on is dignity and taking on income inequality. And for too long, politicians have pretended that we're spectators to that crisis of affordability. We're actually actors, and we have the choice to exacerbate it, like Mayor Adams has done, or to respond to it and resolve it, like I'm planning to do.
All right, well, there you go. I mean, calls capitalism evil and talks about distribution of wealth and all of God's children. I mean, how caring is he? I mean, that just warmed my heart. The problem is, folks, the reason Mamdani won, amongst many, there are many reasons, and New York City is uber liberal. All right, this is a Democrat stronghold and has been since Giuliani, since that was the last Republican mayor, I believe. Mamdani is appealing to the empathetic left-wing Democrat crowd. All right, and our populace is not properly educated on the historical failures of socialism. And this is why, and I find it quite ironic that this proven failed system of government and the economy, I find it quite ironic that the thinking is thriving in a capitalist economy where we've got wealth more than we know what to do with, generally speaking, as a populace. Not everybody, and when we'll talk about the economics and why people are disgruntled, because not everybody does have, wealth, flowing out of their eyeballs or whatever. But it's just so crazy to me that people are living, breathing, experiencing prosperity and human flourishing like humanity hasn't seen ever at this scale, and we want to go away from it to something else that we can show in the history books doesn't work. And not only does it not work, because that's not really a moral case to say, well, it doesn't work. Well, okay, well, we're still going to do it, right? Even though it doesn't work. Because there's a lot of things that don't work, but people still do it. And they say, well, I can just do it if I want to. Okay, whatever. It doesn't work. I'm telling you it doesn't work. But socialism and communism, which are a little bit different, and Marxism, they lead to evil, okay? So this is not a, consumer choice, voter choice, red or yellow, what color car do you want? No. Choosing socialism, this leads to evil and injustice, all right? And so there's a moral imperative here, and that's why it's so important to point this out. But we've got an empathetic, gullible populace that is convinced that what we're doing and what we have been doing isn't working, and maybe to a degree it's not working. We'll talk more about it after the break.
Hello, this is Edward Graham, and I've got a great idea for you this Christmas. Through Operation Christmas Child, you can share hope with a child in need. Fill a shoebox with toys, school supplies, and hygiene items. Add your picture and an encouraging note. We'll deliver your shoebox gift to a child alongside the greatest gift of all, the good news of Jesus Christ.
Visit SamaritansPurse.org/OCC to get involved. That's SamaritansPurse.org/OCC. You can be part of sharing the love of Jesus with children in need around the world. Operation Christmas Child is collecting gift-filled shoeboxes during National Collection Week, November 17th through the 24th. Make your shoebox gift fun, full, and personalized by filling it with toys, school supplies, and personal care items. Then bring your packed shoebox to a drop-off location. Children will hear the gospel alongside your gift and be invited to join a discipleship program. Visit SamaritansPurse.org/OCC to learn more.
This is Abraham Hamilton III with AFR, and we're sending Bibles. Here's Michael with Bible League International.
Abraham, this is startling. Outside of the U.S., in the regions of Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America, as many as 9 of 10 new believers lack a Bible. They can't read God's precious promises. Would you remember Sabella in the Middle East? Only a couple of years ago, she could not read, but now she can, and she's praying for a Bible. Neo's a widowed mother of 4 in Kenya. Her husband was killed by the Boko Haram regime, but she wants to raise her children to know and love love Jesus. She's praying for a Bible. Let me say thanks to Walter of Muskegon, Michigan, Constance of Lewisburg, West Virginia, and Teresa of Dubuque, Iowa. We want to bless 6,000 Bibleless believers around the world during this month of Thanksgiving. If you're grateful for your Bible, if God has used His Word to grow you, would you give that privilege to others today?
$5 sends a Bible. $100 sends 20. $500 sends 100. You can give by calling 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. Or visit sendbiblesnow.org. That's sendbiblesnow.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, 2026 is your year to go with us on one of our Christian Heritage Tours. We've got some dynamite tours lined up for 2026. We're going to Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown. We're also going to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and we'll see George Washington's Mount Vernon estate while we're there, too. And then we're going to Boston and to Concord and to Lexington, all the history in Boston. We'll also be meeting with a couple of our founding fathers. So it's going to be just a tour unlike any other tour that you've been on. So if you want to go with us, you want to see the pricing, the itinerary, everything, go to wildmongroup.com. WILDMON group.com, wildmongroup.com, and we hope to see you on one of our 2026 tours.
At the Core podcasts are available at AFR.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to the Core. Walker Wildmon here with you on American Family Radio. Well, we're recapping what happened last night in New Jersey and Virginia and other places around the country. Prop 50 in California won overwhelmingly, which basically allows California to continue and really bolster up their redistricting efforts to ensure Democrat strongholds pretty much everywhere in the state, or at least wherever made possible. And but there's, as I was reading the kind of the after action reports this morning and in the wee hours of last night about why Republicans got clobbered in New Jersey and Virginia specifically, there was some pretty interesting takes that I got to admit I wasn't thinking about, at least wasn't thinking about primarily leading up to the last night's election and then even the last 10 months of the presidency. That after I read these kind of assessments, I was like, wow, where have we been? We've been totally missing the ball here. And so I'm going to play a clip here. We've got Tony Vitagliano in with us. I'm going to play this clip, Tony, of Charlie Kirk, as you know, really prophetic as this is Charlie Kirk, obviously before his assassination, on with Tucker Carlson, talking for about 3 minutes on Gen Z and this generation that has really had a lot of opportunities stolen from them through government leadership and through political leadership. And so let's listen to what Charlie Kirk had to say about young voters, what their motivations are, and the position that they're in. And he even talks about Mamdani and how he might actually win the mayoral race in New York City. This is going to be clip 4.
So there's a race against the clock that's happening right now. And I think President Trump is uniquely suited to fix it. He has to fix it, which is, can we reorder the economic reality of under 30s before dark political radicalization sets in?
The economic reality.
Correct. It's
there's a topic that's never broached.
Well, here we go.
No, but it's just interesting it's interesting that's your first answer. The economics. I have always noticed, and I am insulated from a lot of that stuff. I'll admit I don't really notice.
I would be otherwise if I didn't spend as much time, because we do very well. We're in the top income bracket. So
I just noticed no one talks about it. So I think that's weird. People used to talk about economics. They don't anymore. So you think that's economics is the number one issue for young people.
Oh,
if we don't address it, we go to dark places. What does that mean?
So a couple things. Number one, the rise of Mamdani should be it's a coming attraction of what is coming next.
Who's Mamdani?
Zohran Mamdani, the Muslim communist that is running for mayor in New York City, who obviously there's a whole rabbit hole we can go down there. He just looks kind of be like central casting, and his ideas are terrible. He wants the city to run the grocery stores, all that. But I think everyone's kind of, not everyone, but most people are missing the point of really what this is. This is yet another distress signal by young people to say, hey, if you're not going to fix our life economically, we're going to get very radical politically. Now let's take a step back. President Trump won the youth vote in many states across the country, in many battleground states. Now, Tucker, 12, 13 years ago when I started Turning Point, if you would have told me that a Republican running for the presidency would be winning the youth vote in Michigan and in Arizona, I'd say, no way. It's an incomprehensible accomplishment of what President Trump was able to do. One of the reasons he was able to win younger voters and younger men, especially in big numbers, is that they were trying to get their leaders' attention. They said, hey, this guy, Donald Trump, he is pledging to go fix our economic anxiety. He is loud. He is going to get your attention. Donald Trump was a distress signal by a lot of young people, especially young men, that were stuck in a credit-centric renter economy. And again, this is what is the rise of Mamdani. It's just another iteration of this, only from the left, which is
a credit-centric renter economy.
Yes, which is the way that we need to focus, that we need to kind of frame this. And conservatives, I think I know why, are just so unwilling to have this conversation. And I'm not even going to get into what we should do about it. I think I have some good ideas. And trust me, I'm not a socialist. I'm a market guy. I like capitalism. I think markets are good. I think entrepreneurship is good. But we need to kind of paint this picture first, because I think I know this for certain, so many people in DC have no idea what I'm talking about when I bring this up to them. And secondly, a lot of people over 50 think this is a foreign concept, and they think, quite honestly, this is just the complaining of young people that don't want to work.
All right, well, there you have it, Tony. Yeah. So you and I were talking about this morning. This is so true. And there's some truth to both of these angles, meaning there is truth that some of the younger generations are lazy. They don't want to work hard, right? They don't want to sweat, etc. There's some of that. They feel entitled, right? There's some of that, but there's some of that in every generation, right. Depending on your background and the type of family that you grow up in. But there's also a large segment of our population that do work hard. They do want to make a better life for themselves, but the system, the economic system that we're in today, has boxed out a lot of young people from the same opportunities that maybe their parents or grandparents otherwise had.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think at this point in Trump's presidency, I think he's done some things that are good. Economic-wise, he's made some choices and taken some actions that needed to be taken. Like the tariffs. I agree with most of his policy when it comes to our outward-facing tariff policy and interacting with other countries. But I do think there has been a little more focus than I personally would like on foreign issues and foreign policy.
Yes.
So Trump has been, very vocal about going out and ending this conflict, and I'm going to go get these two countries together. And, peace is a good thing. Obviously, we want peace wherever possible.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's been a little too much emphasis on his foreign policy and not enough on the domestic issues that we are still facing. We may not see the positive result of his tariff policy and all the decisions he's made there for a few more years. So you need to, in the meantime, let people know that you understand that groceries are expensive. Yeah. You understand that housing is still unaffordable, even as the rates start to slowly drop. It's still unaffordable. Yeah. You need to be letting people know, specifically younger people, that I understand things could be better, and we're going to work towards that. And he's kind of been a little more silent on that, or he's been putting a positive spin when there's not one there. Yeah, he's been preoccupied, but he's also putting a spin out there that doesn't really concern the demographic that Charlie Kirk is talking about, and that Mamdani won in New York City. You can't keep referencing the stock market being up. Stock market's hit an all new high.
Sure.
And
that's not everybody's in the stock market.
Exactly. That's not necessarily an indicator of a healthy economy.
Yeah. And if they're in the stock market, they're not going to realize the benefits of it, quote, until they retire in 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. J.D. Vance, the vice president, Tony, I think is onto this. So he put out a statement about 3 hours ago, and he gave a couple kind of bullet points on his recap of last night's election. And he said, to your point, this is point number 2 he made. He said, we need to focus on the home front. The president has done a lot that has already paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation. But we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. We're going to keep on working to make decent life affordable in this country, and that's the metric by which we'll ultimately be judged in 2026 and beyond. So basically, the first sentence of that is, we need to focus on the home front.
Yeah.
And when you brought up this morning how much President Trump has been doing international on foreign policy, I don't know why I haven't thought about that. Maybe it's just because nobody's brought it up, but when you look at the amount of time he has spent traveling the world trying to cut peace deals and economic deals, which is fine. The trade deals definitely got to be done because that's affecting our domestic economy here. But it's been a lot. I mean, he's been gone a lot. And even the time he's here, he's been having Zelensky in and Netanyahu in and Putin to Alaska and, trying to basically fix everybody else's wars, which is, I understand He touts himself as the peace president. He campaigned on it, ending foreign wars, endless foreign wars. And so I understand he's trying to fulfill one of his multiple tenets of his campaign. But when you've got the economy on fire, like a dumpster fire, not on fire in a good way, the economy is still largely in the dumps. And it's, Tony, it's going to take so much to fix it. And if there's not major headway by 2026, it doesn't matter what path you're on to fix it or what you say you're going to do in the future. If there's not significant headway, that's what you're talking about, by 2026, which we're about to be in, then the voters don't care about what you're saying. They want to see results.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, across the board, most of the polls I've seen, the number one issue for people is cost of living. The economy.
Yes,
they want to see that improve. They want to see their grocery bill come down. They want to see energy prices come down.
Yep.
If you ask them where on the list does the Ukraine conflict come, it's down on the it's lower. Let's just put it that way.
0.12 or 15, literally on the surveys.
So that is what the people or the average person is concerned about
when they go to the ballot box.
When they go to the ballot box, and that is what Republicans and Trump need to start, in my opinion, pivoting towards, because Mamdani is the result of that. Now, obviously, like you were talking about earlier in the show, New York City is New York City, and they're going to vote, to walk off the bridge if it means, there's a Democrat in charge of them.
Yeah, orange man bad, right.
You can't, though, ignore the underlying issues. You look at the exit polling, it's CNN's exit polling, I was looking at that earlier today, to see what some of the answers were to their exit polling.
Yeah.
And the most important issue facing New York City, 66% of Mamdani voters said it was the highest percentage, cost of living. I mean, cost of living, groceries, cost
to your point, it's not enough for us to just say socialism bad. Now let's move on, right?
Yeah.
If we convince enough people that socialism is bad, then we'll win the day. That's not necessarily the case. We also have to, on the other side, be improving the conditions.
Present an alternative.
Yes.
When you were talking about the Tea Party, or I think we were talking about it during one of the breaks.
Yeah.
The main tenet of the Tea Party was to lower taxes,
lower spending
and lower taxes.
Yep.
Well, what do you do to inflation when you lower spending? Right, you inevitably you start to bring it down.
Correct.
And the way you have to lower spending is you have to lower taxes.
Yes.
First, so we have to present an alternative in a capitalist society that still gives people hope that their cost of living is going to be able to come down.
Yeah.
Instead of making promises and wishes and acting like a genie.
Yeah.
Whatever you wish for, I'll make it come true. That's what Mamdani's doing.
Yes.
we have to present real world examples
and deliver.
Yeah,
yes, that's a good point. Yeah, when I mentioned the Tea Party during the break, and I'm glad you brought that up. I tell people this when they complain, like some people complain about Trump because they don't like his rhetoric, they don't like his ex-post, whatever. Which some of it I can't defend, and I'm not going to even try. But we're past that, right? Because he's the president. But when that's brought up, I remind people that the Republican establishment brought us Donald Trump, like in a box. They brought us Donald Trump and delivered him to us. And here's why. The Republican establishment squashed the Tea Party. The Republican establishment defeated the Tea Party, and this is out in the public. This is not a secret or behind the scenes.
They used them to gain power first, though.
Yes.
Remember that.
Yeah, because they parroted the talking points, right? We're going to lower taxes, blah, blah, blah. So they grabbed the talking points and then threw everybody out with it.
Yep.
And the only remnants we have of the Tea Party literally are, just to name a few, Rand Paul, whatever you think of him, he was a Tea Party guy. Ted Cruz came in as a Tea Party guy. Then Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, came in as a Tea Party guy. And there's a few others as well that I'm leaving off. But nonetheless, there was about 5 to 8 U.S. senators that came in as Tea Party guys. And then there was a handful of House congressional members that came in as Tea Party guys. But largely all those guys have either been, sold out to the establishment or their voices have been isolated and squashed. And so thus the base, the Republican base, was disgruntled. They were mad. They were disenfranchised that their Tea Party didn't work because their own, quote, friends in the Republican Party squashed it. And then Donald Trump comes along, and he's not the most eloquent speaker, and sometimes he says stuff he shouldn't, but he's a doer.
Right.
And he's a businessman. And a lot of people said, you know what, whatever. He's not the most polished politician. Sometimes he says stuff I don't like, but I know what I'm getting when I vote for him.
Yeah, and to them, he represented the working man because he's a multimillionaire. He's not out there digging ditches, but people felt like he represented them and he had their best interest.
Because he knew how to talk to him.
He knew how to talk to him.
He's a businessman.
For the first time ever, someone from D.C. is approachable.
Yeah.
Right? So Donald Trump in my opinion, needs to start leaning more into that. He used it to get himself elected in 2024. Great.
Yeah.
But got to start leaning into it again.
Yeah, I agree. Remember the garbage truck ride?
The garbage truck, McDonald's?
And the McDonald's, working the window.
I mean, it's brilliant. Brilliant moves.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep doing it. Yeah, I agree. And so that's the message. The vice president clearly gets it. He posted about it this morning. But the White House is and the GOP, they're going to have to lean in on the domestic issues, all right? Enough foreign policy trips, enough trying to secure peace deals with all these other countries. If they want to come to the table and do peace, that's fine, but we've got to focus on the home front, on the homeland, because voters are paying attention, and we cannot lose the House or the Senate come in November of 26. Thanks, Tony.
Yep.
As we watch world events unfold and fulfill Scripture, it's hard to believe anyone could doubt God and His Word are real. And yet there are so many who either question or completely refuse to believe it. The God Who Speaks is a 90-minute documentary that hits the doubt head-on with evidence that proves God is real and His Word is the ultimate authority. Watch it anytime and invite others to watch with you. Just visit stream.afa.net. That's stream.afa.net.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We stand on the biblical truth that all human beings, including the unborn, are created in the image of God and are endowed by Him with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
In the book of Isaiah, the word tells us, "The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God endures forever." In the same way, without careful planning, your financial goals could blow away like the seeds of a dandelion. It's never too early or too late to consider how a charitable gift annuity can help you meet the financial goals you've set for your loved ones, your causes, and yourself. Give AFA Foundation a call at 800-326-4543, extension 345, or visit our website, afafoundation.net. Let us explain how a charitable gift annuity can help you achieve your goals. As we read in Proverbs, the plans of the diligent lead to profit. Our phone number again is 800-326-4543, extension 345. And our website is afafoundation.net.
What if healthcare could be more than bills and bureaucracy? What if it could reflect faith, foster community, and offer spiritual support? At Redeem HealthShare Ministry, the mission goes beyond medical bills. It's about honoring Christ and embracing healthcare that aligns with Christian values. Redeem members share medical expenses through monthly contributions, supporting one another in a Christ-centered community. It's not insurance, it's believers helping believers through financial support and prayer. And Redeem HealthShare provides freedom for members to select the doctors, hospitals, and treatments that are right for them. No networks, no restrictions, just faith-driven care. From everyday checkups to unexpected medical emergencies, Redeem offers flexible programs and encouragement rooted in Scripture. Because your healthcare should reflect your faith, not compromise it. More at redeemhealthshare.org.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio with your host, Walker Wildmon.
Welcome to The Core here on American Family Radio. Glad to have you with us on the program. Well, that was a very good segment with Tony Vitagliano last segment, talking about the state of the economy and how that is dominating the hearts and the minds and the thinking of America's voters and America's electorate. And I would argue that's one of the main reasons President Trump was elected again in 2024 was the state of the economy. I mean, the Biden economy was and is a disaster. It's an unmitigated dumpster fire, and we're still reeling from the consequences of it. I mean, we folks, we are nowhere near recovered here. I can just tell you 100% we are nowhere near recovered. And I don't know that we will anytime soon go back to pre-COVID levels of the economy for all the metrics. I just don't know when that will happen. In 10 years, maybe? I don't know. But we're nowhere near recovering. And people are upset about it. People are upset about it. Now, this is an excuse, to go down the rotten path of socialism. But if you don't understand what voters care about and what's driving their decision making, then you're not going to reach them. All right. And so that's what's going on right now in the country. At least that's part of what's going on in the country. And so the White House, and look, President Trump has the bully pulpit. President Trump is in charge of now basically the RNC, the Republican National Committee, and all the PACs and super PACs. They better be gearing up for 2026, because what last night shows is that Democrats aren't done fighting. Democrats are not done fighting against Trump at the local, state, and federal level. And so we've got a midterm election in 12 months. Primaries are underway now. They will be held in just a few months. In early 26, primaries are going to be held. Some of them a little later, but I mean, pretty much midterms are underway. Right now, today, midterms are underway. And here's why the midterms are, there's several reasons why the midterms are so important. But before I get into that, let me just recap what Tony and I talked about. We have a I'm pretty much over the boomer, kind of the boomer talking point of throwing young people under the bus as being lazy and apathetic, and they don't want to get off the couch, and they're just a bunch of bums, and all they want to do is play video games and all that. Because we've been saying that for like 20 years. For like at least a decade, we've been saying the same talking points of, young people are lazy, they don't want to work, they just need to get a job, they just need to work harder, they just need to toughen up. And here's why that doesn't work. And I don't think it's true. And there's truth in all broad statements like that. You can find truth, trust me. But the first thing I say to people who just want to dismiss the concerns of younger generations, specifically the economic concerns, what I want to say to them is, who raised this generation? All right? And then it gets real quiet. Who raised this generation? All right? Because these are mostly people who either, at this point, they're talking about their own grandkids, or in some instances, they're talking about their own kids. And I'm thinking, who raised this generation? And so maybe you raised your kids well. Maybe they're doing well. Maybe they're hard workers. Maybe they're an exception to the rule, and so you feel like you've got a little credence to talk about it. Okay, fine. But that's not everybody, all right? That's not everybody. And so there's that. Secondly, this is not the same as, like, people talk about, the 80s, right? Interest rates and Volcker and, Carter and they throw out, I paid 15% for a mortgage. Well, okay, that's fine. But your house was also $40,000. And now the houses are $400,000 and it's the same house. And so, it's not apples to apples, folks. This is not apples to apples. This economy has been driven into the ditch, into the river, really. And this is not the same as the struggles of the past, all right? There's some similarities, but it's not the same as the struggles of the past. You've got young people that are getting out of college, and some of this is their own making, but nonetheless, they're getting out of college. They're saddled in college debt. Why? Because their parents and their college advisor said, yes, you should do student loans. Everybody does student loans. And if you want to change your degree 3 times, that's fine. It's just going to stack onto your debt. So they get out of college. They've got 30, they've got 60, they got $100,000 in student loan debt. If you go to an Ivy League school, you've got $500,000, $500,000 in student loan debt. And they get out, and number one, the chances of them actually doing something that they got a degree for is actually pretty slim, or they get into it and realize they don't like it. But they're saddled with the debt. Then they want to buy a house, and then they realize, I've got to have $100,000 for a down payment because I'm in California to buy a house. Or if you're in a more affordable state, you've got to have $50,000 for a down payment for a house. And they're like, I don't have $50,000. As a matter of fact, I've got $200,000 in student loan debt. Where am I going to get $50,000 cash? Unless you've got some kind of, you saved it up through college, or you've got some kind of family support system that can help you out. And so this is what young people are kind of stepping into at a very young age. And the environment is not friendly for these young people to do good things, noble things like get out of college, start a career, start a family, buy a house. All of these milestones in life that have really marked the American dream have been made out of reach, and been made out of reach because of the policies of state capitals and the policies of Washington, D.C. All right? Now, with that being said, you can always go and you can always blame the end user, right? You can always go and you can find some excuse to say, the young people, they shouldn't have, racked up all that debt in college, or they should have worked 3 jobs when they were in college, or whatever. So you can find that, and there's some legitimacy to that. But the system itself is broken, all right? It's broken, and it's not what it once was, all right? So this is not the same as the past. This is not what it once was. The last 5 years especially, COVID lit this on fire. But the American dream has become unrealistically out of reach for people. And thank the Lord, I barely missed the window. I got married in 2015. I was 5 years into marriage and having children before COVID hit. But I can't imagine if you were like 20, graduating high school or college in COVID era, trying to, start a living and find a job and buy a house, start a family. It's very sad. And so that is what many voters are thinking about when they say that the economy is their top concern when they go to vote. This is what they're talking about. And that I'm just ranting about the housing sector because it's the largest problem. And capital THE, the largest problem. The housing market in America is utterly broken. It is so messed up. It is so broken. It is utterly ridiculous. When you look at these prices of these 2x4 houses with brick on the outside, it is just utterly insane. And all of this happened during the COVID era. Washington pumped $7 trillion into the economy. They drove interest rates down artificially to zero in the last year of President Trump, which was one of the stupidest things we've ever done in the history of our country. We stimulate the economy with $7 trillion, and then simultaneously you drive interest rates down to zero. What on this earth, where in economics class is that a good idea? Okay, terrible idea. Makes completely no sense. You don't stimulate and stimulate on both ends. That doesn't make sense. Usually you stimulate on one end because the other end is struggling. But they double stimulated, and then we got inflation. And we've got housing cost up, grocery cost up, energy cost up. And then now we've got this AI boom, which who knows where this will take us. It'll probably actually lead to more harm than good, but we'll see. The jury's still out on it. We've got this AI boom, and these mega data centers, they want to eat up all of our electricity. And so now you and I, and mark my word, this is happening now. You'll start to see it over the next 12 months. All of our home energy prices are about to skyrocket. They're already starting to skyrocket now, but as soon as they update rates and sign the new contracts on the fuel purchases for these generation facilities, all of our energy is going up. So we just thought we were done with inflation, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I'm just telling you what's going on. All of these AI data centers are plugging into the power grid, and they are just sucking the energy out of our grid. And so what are these power companies doing? Supply and demand. They got a lot of demand, not enough supply. They're about to bump up the energy prices. That's going to come back on you and me, all right? So that's going on now. President Trump is aware of it. They're trying to do things to fix it, but they're going to have to move very, very quickly because we have the midterms coming up in November. And so back to the midterms. The reason you can't lose, the reason the Republicans can't lose is because President Trump is already having a hard enough time getting done what he truly needs to get done because Congress hardly does anything, and everybody wants to litigate. Everybody wants to litigate. We're going to sue you over the tariffs. President Trump says, I want to put a flagpole in front of the White House. We're going to sue you over the flagpole. We're going to sue you over ICE. We're going to sue you over the border wall. And so President Trump is literally litigating all of his policies in court. That takes months or years. And so you just can't afford to come off of the hype of 2024 and the conservative movement giving America Donald Trump and his excellent policies that they are, only to find out 24 months later that we're about to bring it all to a screeching halt. And that's what will happen. There is only so much that the president can do from the Oval Office with his pen and his phone, to quote Barack Obama. There is only so much he can do. So you need Congress to not only codify the policies of President Trump into law, which some of that was done with the One Big Beautiful Bill, but we got to have a lot more of that going on. But if you get Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer at the helm of Congress for all of 2027, and all of 2028, you won't just have a standstill in Washington, which in some cases a standstill is actually a good thing if they'll do less harm. But you will have impeachment trial after impeachment trial after hearing after hearing, and then the budget negotiations will be a complete and utter disaster. President Trump will have to cede ground to the left so they can get their budget through. It will be very, very bad. And it will pretty much hamper the entirety of the remainder of President Trump's term. So you just can't afford that. And if you want to know what it'll look like, it'll be about 10 times worse than Nancy Pelosi was. And I think they impeached President Trump in the House 2 or 3 times. So you just can't have it. You can't have it. And so that's where we are right now. And that's what's on the ballot for the midterms. But back to the overarching point, as maybe it was Carville. The economy's stupid. Was that James Carville? Clinton counselor and still doing interviews today. But it's the economy. It's the economy. And when you poll voters, and all of them have the economy in the top 3 issues that they care about, that's what you ought to be focused on. And so the challenge is that the Trump administration and the Republicans, including Congress, including Mike Johnson and including John Thune and all the leaders of the Republican Party, they need this probably more than President Trump, because according to the vice president, they're on top of this. They know what's going on. They know what the diagnosis is. They know what they need to focus on. But Mike Johnson and John Thune better get on board. I don't want to hear any more talk about Ukraine. I don't want to hear any more talk about Russia. I actually want to hear a little bit less talk about all these wars and even Israel and what we're going to do there. We have to focus on the homeland. We have to focus on the homeland, and we have to fix our domestic issues. Voters are begging. They are begging to have the domestic issues addressed and have their lives made decent again and affordable again, and the Republicans have to deliver that. We'll see you next time.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family